What's up, and welcome back to another episode of Foe on the Flicks. Foe on the Fights, sorry. This is Foe on the Fights. Foe on the Flicks is the other channel where I talk about movies and I review TV shows. But this one is about UFC specifically. And I'm going to get right into the news. First topic we got here, Nate Diazs special on the MMA Hour, worth checking out. Unfortunately, I didn't hear anything surprising, though, just more of the same from Nate. I'm a pretty huge fan of Nate Diazs, so don't misinterpret my thoughts on this interview. I'm on Nate's side. I agree with him. If he 100% wants to depart from the UFC, I think Dana should stop being a dick and just let him go. He makes a good point that the UFC is trying to build more fighters off his name. He's one of the top 5 biggest stars in the promotion. That's a fact. I'm not sure. I think it's a fact. But supposedly he's been asking for fights against like Tony Ferguson, someone else, I forget exactly, and Khamzat, and supposedly Khamzat turned him down, which is kind of hard to believe because I remember when they said they wanted to make that fight, we never really heard nothing from Nate. And then time went on, Khamzat got married, and Nate's now saying he called him out. So it's a bit confusing there. But yeah, I don't want to see Nate fight Khamzat. I think it's guy's too young, too much of a grappler heavy, too much of a just all around beast. And Nate doesn't want to, let him build his name like so many others have off of a win. And just more of the same about Nate being the best fighter in the game, and he's the ultimate fighter. And there's no one doing enough to interest him in a fight, which is typically Nate being Nate. I would love to see him fight his contract out, though. He deserves a name. I'd like to see him fight someone like Joe Lozon. It would be good for him since Joe lost his chance to fight against Cowboy Cerrone, blew out his knee. They're both veterans of the sport. 155 pounders who at this stage in their careers would probably prefer fighting at 170. I think they both have fought at 170. And there's opponents. They'd be opponents that were similar statures and age and time in the game. So I think it would be a fair and fun fight to see Nate walk after that. I'm always going to watch Nate, whatever he chooses to do next, though. He's hinted at Jake Paul boxing, and I think he deserves a massive payday if he was to get that fight. But in my opinion, Jake is closer to like a middleweight / light heavyweight, and Nate's a blown up 170 pounder, with his prime weight class being probably still 155. So on paper, it just doesn't make sense for Nathan. And then moving on, next topic, we saw a recent back and forth with Jake Paul trolling Conor McGregor some more. That's like his hobby he likes to do, which I'm not sure why he loves to contradict himself. Being old news, talking about Conor being old news and shit, and more active on Twitter than he is in the cage, calling him brittle bone and weak and all this and that, but yet he's steady calling him out every other week. And of course, Conor just laughed it off. Also, weight for Conor and Jake doesn't make sense. It would almost be the same differential as Floyd versus Logan, which was absurd. Even though Floyd still won, which is even more absurd. But Conor is looking massive at the moment. But I'm not sure if he's really going to come back. He may just be keeping himself relevant for the sake of staying relevant. He probably will come back, though. And Jake Paul has his first opponent who is actually a boxer, so that's worth noting. Sorry about the flies. This fucking house, man. God damn it. Full of flies. Can't get rid of them. It's not junk in the basement, though, so I'm not a, trashy person. Anyway, Jake Paul, yeah, he's fighting a boxer now. I just checked out a little bit of his press conference. It's pretty good back and forth. Hasim Jr., I guess his father beat Lennox Lewis or something back in the day. And then Lennox beat him in the rematch. But Hasim had the best trash talk to date from Jake Paul's questionable list of opponents, who are mostly MMA fighters, wrestlers. So, yeah, it'd be good to see him fight an actual boxer since Tommy fucking chickened out, apparently. Tommy fumbles. Never thought I'd be agreeing with Jake on anything, but yeah, Tommy definitely fumbled the bag on that one. He, in my opinion, is probably just scared to lose. I mean, he's a boxer, but he's also fought people who don't win. So he's been padding his record, and he doesn't want to lose his name, the Fury name. He doesn't want to put that shade on it. I'm sure his dad and his brother Tyson were probably like, Tommy, if you don't think you can beat this boy's ass, you might as well just pull out and say that there's an issue with your visa. And someone made a point, I think it was Michael Bisping said, you don't show up to the airport if you have visa issues. There's no point, no sense in even going to the airport without your visa intact and ready to go. But then moving on, we had checked out a little bit of DC and RC. They had Dustin the Diamond Poirier on there. And they were talking about lightweight fight matchups they wanted to see. Dustin called for Conor versus Gaethje, which I think would make a lot of sense. It's a big enough name and fight to interest Conor. And next to an immediate title shot, it'd be a realistic fight to get Conor back in the rankings, up in the rankings. He's like 12 right now, which is crazy because he's been out for so long and he's massive right now. He's probably going to come back at 170 unless he plans to like do some drastic weight cut, which his last one against Poirier, he looked kind of, scrawny and didn't look very healthy. Claimed it was his best weight cut ever. But, yeah, if he comes back and gets a finish over Justin Gaethje, your favorite fighter's favorite fighter, they like to call him, the highlight, the most violent man in the UFC, it would also be a striker's delight, with neither of them very strong grapplers. Although I think Conor would benefit from using his new size and working on his wrestling game. But Justin does have wrestling credentials and fantastic takedown defense, so maybe that's not a good idea. They'll probably just keep it on the feet, though. But then again, Justin could probably also benefit from wrestling because Conor's similarly weak in the grappling. But Justin's shown to have almost non-existent jiu-jitsu skills on the ground. To be fair, Conor hasn't proved himself in the BJJ department either. But I think it would be an awesome matchup. A great action, fucking packed fight. Main event for a pay-per-view because Conor, he's not going to fight on a fight night. So yeah, that's a good call from DP. And then DC, he called for Dustin versus Chandler, which with the previous beef and verbal back and forth, I think makes perfect sense. Then he called for Dariush versus Gaethje, which I think, to be fair, is a total mismatch, in my opinion. Beneil takes Gaethje down and dominates on the ground easily, probably, unless Gaethje can sleep him on the feet real early and keep up his takedown defense. I don't know, though, because Beneil's just big and strong and superb grappler. And after seeing what Khabib did to Gaethje on the ground, I think it would go similar to that. And Dustin, I like Dustin's call out. Even though it's down the rankings, he thinks Beneil should fight Gamrot, which would be another grappler's delight matchup. And with Islam and Oliveira as strong grapplers and BJJ guys, I think the winner between Gamrot and Dariush could stake a good claim for a number one contender spot for the title. And DC's last one is the obvious Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev for the vacant title, a lightweight. And it's so funny. All their picks are like biased because, DC's aka guy with Islam. Khabib is his boy, so of course he wants that. And then Dustin's calling for Beneil versus Gamrot. Gamrot's way down in the rankings, but he's a ATT guy. So, did I say ATT for DC? I meant AKA. So yeah. And next up, we had Yuri Prohashka in the news, in his very stoic demeanor, come out and say he wants to rematch Glover Teixeira next for his next title defense. I think it makes a lot of sense since Glover beat Jan pretty easily and was 20 seconds away from retaining his title in that fight. I'm sure Jan is fuming at that. He put a tweet out calling into question Yuri's samurai honor code, but I'd have to disagree with him. I think rematching Glover is an honorable choice. And if he can win in more convincing fashion, he will further solidify his champion status. And there's always time for Jan to wait. And maybe get another win in the meantime. Because it's kind of wishful thinking on Jan's part to expect a title shot. Even though I'm a big fan of Jan Blachowicz, his fight with Rakic was super close, maybe even with Rakic winning up until that freak accident injury. And if it happened more like Chito Vera versus Sean O'Malley, where it was caused by damage from the leg kick to the peroneal nerve, then it would make more sense. But Rakic was kind of up on points, and it was kind of a freak injury where he just kind of stepped wrong and blew out his knee. So for Jan to be like, yeah, I want the next title shot after that, yeah, wishful thinking, like I said. Because he just got his ass kicked easily by Glover, who just lost the belt. So it's like, and Glover's a legend. He's old. He's not got much time in there. So if he was to fight again for a title, his best case scenario would be to rematch Yuri right away before Father Time takes his toll even more. Here's a fun fact. UFC President Dana White, the richest man in the world, gifted one of the Nelk boys $250K for his birthday. That's nuts, man. Must be nice to be so rich you could just give some guy who's, they call him his friend, but he's probably more of an acquaintance, $250,000 for your birthday. Here you go, bud. Thanks for coming to the UFCs and bringing attention. Here's $250,000 liquid cash. MMA Hour's on right now as I'm speaking. I kind of wanted to wait to see what more news we could talk about that's fresh today, but I wanted to get this done, so I stopped after the Macy Barber one. But shout out to MMA Hour. Ariel Hawani's got like the best UFC news out there, in my opinion. But my favorite MMA show, UFC specifically, is Believe You Me with Michael Bisping and Anthony Smith now. And I used to like weighing in with Big John McCarthy and Josh Thompson, but I got kind of turned off of their show about 3 months back. Just their constant hate of the UFC is too obvious, and they say they're big homers for Bellator, which, let's be honest, who watches Bellator? Nobody. I mean, I'm all for other organizations, but there's just so much content for us from the UFC that unless you're like a crazy MMA fan, I doubt anyone's watching Bellator. So I don't know, just kind of didn't sit well with me. And they're always talking shit about the commentators, how they have to mute it and shit. And it's like, you guys are commentators for Bellator. Like, just shut the fuck up. Like, nobody even watches that. So you better fucking turn that mute off and listen. Get some goddamn advice. Maybe do your jobs better. Learn from Anik and DC. And Michael Bisping. The best commentators besides Joe Rogan, which is obvious. But, yeah, in recent news, Macy Barber is on the MMA Hour right now as I speak. And she's pretty badass. She's pretty. Pretty. I sound like a fucking typical male. But yeah, she's pretty pretty. And she's been doing great ever since her 2 losses to Roxanne Modafferi and Alexa Grasso. And she's supposedly a free agent right now, which was surprising because she's like in love with the UFC. And I think it's pretty obvious she's going to stay with them. They're probably just still working on making up her new contract and whatnot. But she's a pretty seemingly chill chick. Seems to be getting better and better each fight. She looked great against Jessica Eye. I mean, she's a gritty, tough fighter. And she's in a great camp with Uriah Faber. And she's been looking great. And right before I started this episode, she brought up something a lot of fans might not know about that I literally just heard before I paused it and started my episode. She brought up that she when she tore her ACL, she kind of took notice of her mental side of things and got some help with her past trauma. Or not supposedly, she claims she was a victim of sexual abuse in her younger years, and that has given her trauma that she kind of never got over, never really came to terms with. But now she's doing good. She's got multiple people she's talking to help with that, and that's cool and worth noting. And congratulations to Macy. You keep grinding, girl. I bet you're gonna be champ one day. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see you fight again. And you're pretty hot, which goes without saying. But okay, we're gonna wrap this up. But hey, stay tuned for Friday for my UFC Fight Night prediction video on the Fight Night with Ortega versus Rodriguez as the main event, and the co-main, my favorite woman in the UFC, the karate hottie Michelle Waterson versus Amanda Lemos, hard-hitting Brazilian, in the co-main event. There's a lot of great fights on this card, so I'm definitely looking forward to that one from start to finish. Great fights, great fight night card. It's an early one, which I fucking love. I love the early ones. I hate being up at midnight because I like to do post shows, and sometimes I'm up till 1 a.m. doing those. But yeah, prelims start at 11 a.m. Eastern time, so make sure you don't miss those. And I'm going to do a little bit of research and make my picks probably Thursday, tomorrow, or Friday. I like to wait till after the weigh-ins because I like to see the fighters face to face, see if I get any vibes on who's going to win. So I might wait for that last minute, but yeah, stay tuned Friday, and then I'll make my predictions there in that episode, and then after the fight night on Saturday, I'll do my review. So yeah, just that's Foeonthefights. Just a little bit of what's going on in the UFC world and the Jake Paul boxing coming up. And worth noting, Mike Perry's got a bare knuckle fight coming up against Michael Venom Page. So that's going to be cool. Probably going to have to get that cheap ass subscription for like $5 to watch that because, it might be worth watching. I like bare knuckle. They got pretty entertaining fights. Good violence, good blood, a lot of cuts and shit. So I'll probably try to watch that one. But yeah, so much UFC shit going on that it's hard to watch the other ones. And PFL, they need to do away with that damn Randy Cam and fucking Smart Cam and fucking Ref Cam, all that bullshit. Just get rid of it. Get rid of it. One is the second best promotion in my opinion. But yeah, we're wrapping it up there. New laptop came in today, so hopefully the video quality is a little better. And yeah, I'm going to try to learn how to make these videos a little bit better. So stay tuned for that. And check out Foeonthefights if you like movies and TV shows, because I do reviews on there. So yeah, see you fight night. Peace.